Coming up.
I think you should do all your voiceovers like that, Mark.
Ruth's in charge.
Don't tell her what I might do.
But it's a trap, isn't it?
Something educational at the end.
No London person would say I be.
I was thinking farmer. Thought you meant big farmer.
I had my fingers in the air.
How do you say that?
Read it out loud, you little bastards.
She was Maggie Smith on acid, wasn't she?
Let's talk about that bit of dialogue, shall we?
So I want to dig into this question of how to make Duff scripts sound better.
You can't do it with accent and you can't do it with age.
Can you take me to Clarence House?
And it's more challenging, obviously, to be able to try and make a bad script sound good.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that? Hello and welcome to How Do You Say That, sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk. Here's my co-host Sam Boffin.
Hello, and this is my co-host, Mark Rice.
Hello. Every week we get together and we chat about scripts and voice acting and how to get even better at what we do.
Yes, this is the podcast for voiceovers and everyone who works with voiceovers.
So Sam, let's play true or false. I have a fascination and love of windmills. True or false?
Now, I seem to recall you liked a crazy little character called Windy Miller. And I can imagine that what you like about windmills is the fact they're often in the middle of nowhere and everything's round in them. So I'm going to go, yes, you love windmills.
I do love windmills, but that's not the reason why.
Oh, is that not the reason?
That's not the
What's
reason.
the reason?
I do remember Windy Miller. I just like, you know those big ones that you can get in town or at the seaside? I plant them in my garden. I've got like a grove of windmills. But I also love wind farm windmills. I am a fan of wind farm windmills. I think they look beautiful. My dad did as well, and he was a geographer, so I didn't think he would. But
well, so it's not windmills as in the windmills you can go into that make bread. It's not that sort of windmill.
No.
It's wind farm windmills. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. or cute little plastic ones.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay, right. Okay. And Mark, I am so short-sighted that I have spare glasses in all the main rooms in my house. Is that true or false?
See, I'd like to believe that it's true because I am exactly the same and I have glasses in every single room of my house. So I'm going to say true.
Well, I wish I did. It's false. It's entirely false. I am very short-sighted, and one of the big problems of being very short-sighted is the minute you put down your glasses, you cannot find them again.
Absolutely.
So I generally don't wear my glasses around the house, but I am forever going, anyone see my glasses?
Well, let's welcome our special guest, actor and voiceover Ruth Urquhart. Hello, Ruth.
Hello.
Lovely to have you with us. Let's find out a bit more about you. Sam has got the gem.
Yes, Ruth is a trained actor and an experienced award-winning voice actor known as the Tartan Chameleon. She is extremely versatile. Being a native Scot with English parents, she has 2 native dialogues as well as a very good ear for other dialects.
Ruth has narrated over 200 books to date, as well as voicing animations, animes, commercials, games, corporate films, film dubbing, documentaries. She lives in Scotland with her family and an array of rescue animals. But Ruth, have you got a true or false fact for us?
Yes. I once did an in-between acting job as a Tesco club card.
Actually, as the club
as a
card.
Tesco club card.
Yep.
Dressed up as a card.
Gosh.
Yep.
I love that. I hope it's true. I'm going to say true because I hope it's true.
Yes, I did.
Were you,
Oh, you did.
I did.
Were you standing on a street corner as a Tesco
No,
club card?
I was
Is it
in
that sort of thing?
Tesco getting beaten up by every manner of youth.
Oh, my God.
Wearing this kind of box suit, which was really hot and uncomfortable, handing out flyers and waving at people.
And we all know that kind of promotional work doesn't pay that well.
No, it was horrible.
Well, on that note all about club card points, let's have a look at the first script of our show and ask, how do you say that?
Club card accepted.
How do you say that?
So, Mark, this is one of your little scripts that you worked on recently. Tell
Yes,
us a bit
it
about
is.
this.
Basically, it is a pharma company. And they've done a test into scurvy. It's
Sorry,
all
I'm
about
thinking,
scurvy.
You're thinking farmer, but you meant...
No, not farmer. Farmer, big farmer.
Oh, he was huge.
Oh, I did think
No,
you meant farmer with an F.
Exactly, we both did.
I love it. No, big pharma, a pharmaceutical company, put it that way. And it's a bit wordy, this, and there's a list in it,
There is a
which
list
is
in
what
it.
makes it maybe not as easy as one would think straight away.
I haven't got much to ask. This is the beginning of it, isn't it, I suppose?
It's historical, but it is, what's the actual purpose of it?
As far as I can see, the purpose of it is looking at old scurvy remedies and new scurvy remedies. And this is how they came to work out what scurvy was in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking to people like pharmacists, I reckon.
Right. Okay.
Pharmacists.
Farmers.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so long as we
You're
know
talking
that.
to farmers.
Okay, there could be citrus fruit
Could be,
farmers. That's what I was.
possibly
That's where
so.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
going. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Sam, you have a go.
Okay. In 1747, James Lind set up his study at sea. 12 sailors suffering from scurvy were split into 6 groups, with 2 men in each group. All 6 groups shared living quarters in the same end of the ship and were given the same diet during the course of the study, with the exception of 6 different treatments that Lind wanted to test. The first group got cider. The second group got diluted sulfuric acid. The third group got vinegar. The fourth group got seawater. The fifth group got 2 oranges and a lemon. Finally, the last group got a purgative mixture of commonly used medicines.
Nice. You were quite jolly with the list there.
Jolly. Jolly list.
But your big thing about corporates is always give them the entertainment. If it's not entertainment, then they're not going to listen.
I actually thought it was quite entertaining, actually.
Yeah.
I quite like it. I enjoyed it.
It was one of those animations where things pop up.
Oh,
There's also a bit of partridge in the pear tree sort of
Yeah, a little bit.
vibe to
It
it.
does feel like it, doesn't it? I thought it was a nice... You kept it quite light, though.
yes, it felt light. Felt light to me. Was it too light, do you think?
No, I don't think so. No. I think I kept it relatively light as well. Ruth, any thoughts on that read?
No, I thought that was lovely, yeah, because it was nicely paced as well, especially when you got into the list, because she didn't just list them with exactly the same tone. You changed it up a bit.
And that is the danger
Yeah.
of that list, isn't
Of
it?
course.
Those lists.
Is it purgative or purgative?
It's a debate.
Is it good? Because I said purgative, didn't I?
Yeah, I think I said purgative.
Yeah, I would say purgative, but that I don't know if that's right.
All right, Ruth, would you like to have a go?
Sure. Okay. Here goes. In 1747, James Lind set up his study at sea. 12 sailors suffering from scurvy were split into 6 groups, with 2 men in each group. All 6 groups shared living quarters in the same end of the ship and were given the same diet during the course of the study, with the exception of 6 different treatments that Lind wanted to test. The first group got cider. The second group got diluted sulfuric acid. The third group got vinegar. The fourth group got seawater. The fifth group got 2 oranges and a lemon. Finally, the last group got a purgative mixture of commonly used medicines.
Ooh.
That was quite worthy and documentary style. I thought that was a lot darker than the way that
I
Sam
think I
did
tend
it.
to be dark. It's a Dure Scott in me.
Yeah, I actually liked that. Do you know what it felt? It felt quite, it felt quite 1747. It felt like this is a really important test that he was
See,
doing.
I thought it felt quite panorama-y.
Yeah, I'm not saying actually 1747. Actually, be speaking like that.
Because there wasn't panorama in 1747.
Yeah, exactly. But I felt it was quite a nice tough read. I quite liked that. Yeah.
1747. What? Very nearly 5:45. I had to make that gag somewhere. Sorry about that. I liked it though. I thought that level of but also what you did with the list was very different as well. And you ramped the list up
Yeah.
as it went along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, let me show you what I did. All right. In 1747, James Lind set up his study at sea. 12 sailors suffering from scurvy were split into 6 groups, with 2 men in each group. All 6 groups shared living quarters in the same end of the ship and were given the same diet during the course of the study, with the exception of 6 different treatments that Lind wanted to test. The first group got cider. The second group got diluted sulfuric acid. The third group got vinegar. The fourth group got seawater. The fifth group got 2 oranges and a lemon. Finally, the last group got a purgative mixture of commonly used medicines.
Oh, you leant into lots of words at the beginning, didn't you? Yeah, in that first one. Ooh,
Mainly the numbers.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's very different again, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Can I tell you why I leant into the numbers? Because I saw on the animation that the numbers actually popped up on the screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that would
That
so
would give
you
a clue.
saw the visuals before you. The other thing that it made me think as you went into it was that this was not the beginning, actually, was it? This was the middle of something that you were talking about. You've already discussed James Lind, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that very much felt like that as you went into it.
Yeah, because it changes how you would say James Lind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
True, because we've already met him within the piece.
Yeah.
Yes.
And remember, you can find both the scripts we're using today. Well, actually, there are 3 scripts we're using today. And we're about to come on to this. And you'll find them in the show notes of this episode.
You will. So, Ruth, we're doing something a little different today. And we've got 2 scripts from what you sent us. What's all this about then?
Well, this hails from back last year when I did a workshop at One Voice about, well, it should have been called How to Polish a Turd, but it wasn't called that. It was called The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I don't think One Voice wanted polishing turds.
And this is because these scripts are particularly badly written, aren't they?
Yeah, so that in it, what frustrates me is in educational terms in voiceover, often the scripts that are given in workshops are always these wonderful, beautiful scripts, which does not relate to how most voiceovers are working. You know, normally we have the challenge of having bad scripts and having to deal with that and having to try and make them sound better than they actually are. So from that, I created a audiobook script using often actually fairly accurate sentences, which I have come across throughout my audiobook career.
There are some horrible sentences here. Ruth. I mean, I really have to say, and the punctuation's literally all over the shop.
Yeah, absolutely. So I absolutely just put them together and also put lots of Americanisms in, because that happens a lot as well, and bad dialect descriptions.
Here's the question I've got. How much do you ask the question when you get a script like this, or do you feel that you just have to go with it and try and polish the turd?
It depends. It really depends. That most of the time you just have to say what's written, even if it seems ludicrous. There are some occasions where I have challenged it and they've said, oh, okay then. But dialect is one thing that you normally can get away with, because if they've written it in such a ridiculous way and it makes no sense, then they will let that pass if you are just doing the authentic accent.
Sure.
It's the traps, actually, isn't it? Not so much the mistakes, but yeah, it's we will almost certainly, you and I, fall into the traps. And also,
I definitely will.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it'll be lovely to explore them. It'd be lovely for us to walk straight into them, just so that we can, make it clear what.
And then Ruth can go, did you notice?
But equally trying to do our best. I think that's the point, is that trying to do our best for them.
So we're still going to try and make it sound great.
Yeah.
Whether we can or not.
Yeah.
Do I get to choose?
Ruth's in charge. Ruth,
okay.
What do you
reckon, Ruth?
Do A.
Okay, so I'll do 2A. That's it. We'll just go in order. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all good. A reticule? Is it a reticule?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what one of those is.
It's a little purse, like a little handbag.
Excellent. Okay. I'm worried now, but I'll try. She grasped her carefully embroidered reticule, a present from her beloved Aunt Mary, given to her at Christmas, a gift that she treasured dearly despite its garish colour, and stepped off the sidewalk into the busy London street, narrowly avoiding a huge puddle. She hailed a hackney, which appeared suddenly through the fall gloom. The driver's rough attire of sackcloth pants held up by suspenders looked filthy, but she tried not to stare as he pulled his horses to a halt beside her. "Can you take me to Clarence House?" she asked. The man grimaced. "Clarence House be 5 blocks away," he growled in his distinct London accent. "I ain't got time, lady. I'll be working."
Gorgeous.
Oh, my word.
I thought you managed that really well.
You did. You did. I loved your definite choice to make her really applause. Oh dear.
Yeah.
She was Maggie Smith on acid, wasn't
I thought she might be going to see the Queen Mum, that's why. That's horrible, because there are the commas where you expect there to be commas, there are no commas, and then where you don't expect there to be commas, there are commas.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, the the point of the first sentence with all its commas and it goes off on such a tangent. That's something that you come across a lot in audiobooks where authors just go off on a tangent and you have to try and make the sentence make sense to get to the point of it, basically, by the end of it. And it's very tricky. I think you managed
where were
that
you at the beginning to the end?
Yeah.
Thank you. The adding, despite the garish colour of the embroidered reticule, it's just pointless, isn't it? It's pointless adding it in at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. You managed to do a London accent with the B in it, which is not a London expression.
Yes, I don't think I've ever heard a Cockney say that.
No.
It goes back to the farmer thing, doesn't it, from earlier on? I be working.
Yeah.
Like the Wurzels.
And with that, do you kind of just have to go with it and make the best of it that you can? Or does it really depend on how appalling it is? I mean, I think we've got a lovely one coming up in the next one, which is so wrong. But,
but with the Americanisms, such as sidewalk and suspenders and
fall,
fall.
Gloom.
Fall's actually a weird one because in medieval times in England, it was the fall. So you can probably get away with that. But generally... You can't change...
But Clarence House wouldn't be 5 blocks away.
Exactly.
No way.
But you can't change that. That's what American publishers and audiences expect. But in terms of the dialect, I ain't got time, lady, I be working. I think in this case, I wouldn't put the B in. I would argue against it.
I'm working.
Yeah.
So normally with production companies, they let that go. They'd let me do that.
Hey, Sam, rather than getting Ruth to read this one now, why don't we hear you do 2B and then Ruth can do both of them at the end of that?
Okay.
Will do. Okay.
Because
very much.
There is some strange stuff in this second one, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're going to hear the hilarity of my Scots accent. Right then, let's go.
Good luck, Sam. Good luck.
Thank you. As she walked, she thought about her brawny Highlander, Hamish Campbell, the one who had proposed to her only a week ago and to whom she had run from, despite her longing to be with him. "Dinna go," he had pleaded earnestly. "I dinna want to live without ye. I can no." His deep voice resonated in his head. And she flushed to remember it. They had not... That's weird.
Yes, it is,
in
isn't
his
it?
head. Okay, sorry. His deep voice resonated in his head, and she flushed to remember it. They had not been alone. His 5 cousins, Angus, Callum, Brett, Jed and Colin, had witnessed the whole embarrassing episode there on the riverbank, next to their little croft house in the little village of Firth, on the banks of the River Forth. She had stood right on the water's edge, the men behind her.
It's difficult, isn't it?
A terrible, terrible Scots accent, I have to say. That was one thing. Let's
I don't
lay
think that was
out
the
there.
worst thing about it, though, Ruth. Do you? It's like the read was fine, but the writing is...
Yes.
That whole thing, his deep voice resonated in his head. It's like, what on earth is an author thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think I shouldn't pursue a romantic writer's career then? Is that what you're saying?
God, no,
If this is your best, no.
I actually, my favourite thing of the whole of that is the whole embarrassing episode there on the riverbank, next to their little croft house in the little village of Firth, on the banks of the River Forth. Now,
hang on, Firth isn't a village, is it?
No, it's not.
There's all that as well. Not only is it a long and convoluted sentence,
it makes no
wrong,
sense.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that something you've come across, Ruth?
Yes.
Does that come from reality?
It does. That sentence about not the whole sentence, but the thing about the village of Firth on the banks of the River Forth was in a script I got. And I was just like, what is she talking about? So I had to contact the production company. So this is a case where I couldn't just say it because it's so ludicrous.
So wrong.
Yeah,
yes.
a Firth is not, it's not a village. It's a geographical aspect. So I had to do a sort of tactful... it's just because I'm local to Edinburgh, so I know there isn't a village there. And then she was like, oh, gee, sure, no worries, change it, so.
Well, while we're talking about things that are so wrong, let's talk about that bit of dialogue, shall we?
No, let's not. No.
Because not from your read, Sam, but what on earth do you do with that? Because that's not the way that Scottish people talk.
Well, D-O-O-N-A.
Duna.
As Sam said, she said, Duna go. And if you weren't Scottish, that's what you would read it as.
I would, yeah.
But no Scottish person would say Duna. It's just wrong. So it would be Dinnae would be the spelling if it was correct. Denny. Yeah, Denny. Yeah. So in that case, and I come across this quite a lot. I've got series and series of books that say Duna, but I change it to Denny. Or and also I can know. I canny. You'd say I canny.
In those instances, Ruth, do you point that out to them or do you simply do it?
I just do it.
You just do it.
And I don't think I've had to, occasionally with a proofer, I've had to fight my corner over it, but very rarely. Usually production companies just let that go because they know you know better, basically.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you do these.
Okay.
Because obviously you're more used to having seen this for longer, the bad stuff, and you've got your workarounds. But I'm interested to see how you work around to make it sound as good as it can be.
Me too, because you're a master at Highland romances.
Indeed.
I want to hear them now.
Okay. She grasped her carefully embroidered reticule, a present from her beloved Aunt Mary, given to her at Christmas, a gift that she treasured dearly, despite its garish colour, and stepped off the sidewalk into the busy London street, narrowly avoiding a huge puddle. She hailed a hackney which appeared suddenly through the fall gloom. The driver's rough attire of sackcloth pants, held up by suspenders, looked filthy, but she tried not to stare as he pulled his horses to a halt beside her. "Can you take me to Clarence House?" she asked. The man grimaced. "Clarence House is 5 blocks away," he growled in his distinct London accent. "I ain't got time, lady. I'm working." Yeah,
nice. So the changes within
really
that
nice.
was really lovely. Although you didn't really change any of the prose, but you made it flow beautifully.
No, and that circumstance, there isn't anything you can do because those are... those Americanisms in there are just set. You can't muck about with them. So
it does take you down a completely different book there, doesn't it? Once you get to the rough attire of sackcloth pants held up by suspenders looking filthy, I'm thinking, where are we going here? Oh no, it's just horses and a cab driver.
Yeah, so not suspenders as we think of them.
Not those kind of suspenders, no, indeed.
Like a sort of Victorian Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's not like that at all.
What a brilliant image, though.
Yeah, I've got a completely different image in my head now.
So let's take it from London to the Highlands, shall we?
Yep. Okay. As she walked, she thought about her brawny Highlander, Hamish Campbell, the one who had proposed to her only a week ago and to whom she had run from, despite her longing to be with him. "Dinna go," he had pleaded earnestly. "I dinna want to live without you. I canna." His deep voice resonated in his head, and she flushed to remember it. They had not been alone. His 5 cousins, Angus, Callum, Brett, Jed and Colin, had witnessed the whole embarrassing episode, there on the river bank, next to their little croft house in the little village of Firth on the banks of the River Forth. She had stood right on the water's edge, the men behind her.
Fantastic. I loved your Hamish Campbell's voice. That was so cool. I loved it. Yeah.
And again, you had changed the dialogue there.
Yeah.
But you also made sense of his deep voice resonated in his head.
Yeah.
In a way that on the page it does not make any sense at all.
No.
So is that a question of just trying to find the sense in a sentence and hoping that's what they mean?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many times you have to try and decipher what the author means, even, if it's particularly bad, it doesn't make sense. So you have to try all sorts of different ways, emphasizing different words or fudging over others in order to make it make sense.
What I noticed in your read of both of them, that we've talked to other audiobook narrators before, is you are somewhat pacier than some of the other audiobook narrators that we've had before. And all of their notes to me have always been, slow down, it's all about the silence.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually one of my flaws, is I go too fast. I think it's something I have to really pull back on. I think comes from my acting training, which was always about pace.
Yes.
You know, audiences not being bored, and you know, so I think I have to really train myself not to do that. So that's an ongoing battle for me.
No, it gave it an energy, really.
Yeah, there's a balance, though. I think sometimes I can just be like, blah, 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 and it sounds like I just want to get to the end of the chapter.
I'm not going to let either of you get to the end of the chapter because I'm going to introduce the wild card bit of the show now. And bear in mind, we might have to do these scripts all over again, but in a different way.
Oh, God. Okay.
That is true. Would you pick one of the scripts and give one of us a new idea, a new motivation, or a new character or something?
Okay. Maybe the first one done as horror. You, Sam, Mark's script.
Okay.
As horror.
Horror.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, right. Got it. In 1747, James Lind set up his study at sea. 12 sailors suffering from scurvy were split into 6 groups with 2 men in each group. All 6 groups shared living quarters in the same end of the ship and were given the same diet during the course of the study, with the exception of 6 different treatments that Lind wanted to test. The first group got cider. The second group got diluted sulfuric acid. The third group got vinegar. The fourth group got seawater. And the fifth group got 2 oranges and a lemon. Finally, the last group got a purgative mixture of commonly used medicines.
Wow. I mean, yes, you're just waiting for the one that's going to kill them, aren't you?
That's the one.
Oh, that was lovely.
Isn't it interesting how pace defines horror so much?
Yeah. I could almost hear the creepy music there when we were doing that. It was great.
Absolutely, we can.
Right at the beginning, I thought, I've started this wrong. And you have to kind of, when you do that, and you often find you have started something wrong. And the only time it's a problem is when it's live. You have to kind of find some way of pulling it back. So you're desperately reading ahead.
Yeah.
Your voice is saying the words that are on the page, but you're desperately scanning ahead to see where you can change it to make it more like you wanted. It's funny that. But it doesn't usually matter with voiceover work.
Well, there's loads of times in audiobook work where I've bellowed something and then it says she whispered. I was like, oh, fuck. I have to do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, my word. I'm going to come up with one for you, Ruth, and I think this may be a bit challenging.
All right.
I would like you to... I'd like you to do the final script. So the Hamish Campbell script, if that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'd like you to do it as a postie, person that delivers letters, where when you get to the mailbox, it's guarded by a large, very ferocious dog. You can't actually get near the mailbox while you're telling this story.
Okay.
Oh, God. It's a very specific little scene you've got in your head.
I actually stole it from the random wildcard generator.
Crazy cat. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that existed.
Yes.
Okay.
And the wildcard generator link is in the show notes. So there you go.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm terrified of a postbox.
Well, the dog by the postbox.
Yeah, okay. As she walked, she thought about her brawny Highlander, Hamish Campbell, the one who had proposed to her only a week ago and to whom she had run from despite longing to be with him. "Dinna go," he had pleaded earnestly. "I dinna want to live without you. I cannae." His deep voice resonated in his head, and she flushed to remember it. They had not been alone. His 5 cousins, Angus, Callum, Brett, Jed and Colin, had witnessed the whole embarrassing episode there on the riverbank, next to their little croft house in the little village of Firth on the banks of the River Forth. She had stood right on the water's edge, the men behind her.
You can get the running away.
Yeah.
Wow. Golly.
I don't know. I think I went to various different accents there. Never mind.
But I got the emotion and the physicality of creeping towards it, trying not to upset the dog, not getting actually there.
Yes.
Nice. Not an easy one. Not an easy one.
Not.
So Sam, can you come up with one for me?
Yeah, do you know, in my mind, I want you to be a puppet master. But I don't quite know how that works. So I'd like you to be a puppet master, and it's really up to you whether you're going to be a kid's puppet entertainer or whether you are a kind of evil puppet master.
Okay.
And I'd like you to do... let's do the one we haven't done. Let's do script A then.
The reticule.
You did script A last time, didn't you? Oh, no, that's quite fun, actually. Do it completely differently. Yeah.
I'm thinking Punch and Judy in my head.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of what I'm thinking.
Oh, I'm so pleased I gave this to you now, because you can do all sorts of things with that voice, can't you?
She grasped a carefully embroidered reticule, a present from her beloved Aunt Mary given to her at Christmas, a gift that she treasured deeply, despite its garish colour, and stepped off the sidewalk into the busy London street, narrowly avoiding a huge puddle. Blah. She hailed a hackney, which appeared suddenly through the fall gloom. The driver's rough attire of sackcloth pants held up by suspenders looked filthy, but she tried not to stare as he pulled his "Whoa there!" horses to a halt beside her. "Can you take me to Clarence House?" she asked. The man grimaced. "Clarence House be 5 blocks away," he growled in his distinct London accent. "I ain't got time, lady. I'm working."
You didn't disappoint.
No. I think you should do all your voiceovers like that, Mark.
Do you know what? I'm tempted. I'm very tempted. Yeah. I had my fingers in the air doing the strings.
It was everything I wanted and more. The bit where, because Ruth laughed as well, where you stepped off the sidewalk. I don't know what you did, but it was great.
I was putting the puppets down into the puddle.
Yeah, you were bringing it to life, weren't you?
Yeah. Trying to. That was quite fun. I quite enjoyed that.
Did you?
Well, if you want to play along in the privacy of your own booths, as we've said before, we've put the scripts in the show notes, all 3 of them for a change, and you can have a try yourself. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
You'll need it.
So I want to dig into this question of how to make duff scripts sound better. One of the big problems is, I mean, audiobooks is one thing. Obviously, when you're working, because audiobooks, you're working quite closely often with an author, so there may be the ability to... But what can you do with other scripts? Because once we get them, they're pretty much locked in. How do you treat those?
Yeah, I think there's times when you can contact production companies and get things changed, but it's very rare usually. So you just have to try. One thing I find often happens with fairly poor writing is repeated words and sentences over and over again, and it makes it
like
sound
the groups.
Yeah, like the groups.
Earlier.
But unless you change how you say each one, it really stands out and really makes it sound awful, because it is awful. It's badly written. But so I tend to do things like I would fudge over one word, and then when the other word comes up again later in the sentence, I would emphasise it more. Yeah, just all those little things that you can do.
Do you often change stuff, Mark?
I've had a run of scripts in the last 6 months that have patently been translated from Google Translate and are absolutely bloody awful.
Wow.
God.
And I tend to go back to the client and go, can I say this for this sentence? Because that's not how we would say it in Britain.
I think with corporate, I've had much more... Normally, they're a bit more open to making things sound better, aren't they?
Yes,
so they
absolutely, because they're trying to sell something normally,
Yeah.
How often do you come across crappy writing like this?
A lot.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Really do.
I did a document for corporate clients, like in a marketing thing. It's like 8 ways to make your script better. And short sentences is absolutely one of them.
Absolutely.
Plus the fact is, read it out loud, you little bastards.
Yes,
like,
that is
if you
so
can't read it out
important.
loud,
Why don't authors do that? It just...
I don't know.
It
don't know.
always gets me that. It's such an obvious thing to do, because if it doesn't sound... Because I've actually read a script before, done my prep read and thought, oh, it's quite a nice book, this. And then I've gone to read it out loud, and the sentences are ridiculous. Yeah. They look fine when you're reading them, but when you read it out loud, it doesn't make any sense, or
there's a difference
really
between reading in your brain and reading out loud, though.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't realise.
No, not at all.
I often say that to people when they're prepping stuff, because often when people prep longer form scripts, they're, marking it up on the page. But it's really good practice to occasionally read bits out to yourself while you're in the middle of prepping.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not going to read a whole audiobook out twice,
No.
Indeed, yeah.
But if you can just kind of get bits in your head, read a page or two, it can really make a difference and get into the sort of, I don't know, the sort of style of that particular author.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more challenging, obviously, to be able to try and make a bad script sound good.
Yeah.
It's what quite a lot of our guests have said. You can tell a really well-written corporate, well-written commercial because they stand out so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes all the difference.
But they're few and far between.
Yeah. And it feels so nice when you get a really good audiobook script or whatever script, and it's just really flows lovely and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The pacing of it's lovely and the characters are great. It's lovely, but really in today's market of so many writers, those are the exception. I've had various audiobooks where they have characters who are all the same age, they're all from the same place, they're all from a clan.
Yeah, what do you do with those?
So then you have to change how your voice sounds. So you'd make somebody gruff, you'd make someone maybe with a lisp, you'd make someone the ladies' man, you'd make someone, you add all these characteristics to them, even though you can't do it with accent and you can't do it with age. So that's a useful thing to do, is to try and adapt your voice in terms of characteristics.
That's a great tip, yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a Seven Dwarfs principle.
Yeah.
Of course, they all have yes, absolutely. They all have a different feel about it. Ruth, that is a great way of looking at scripts that I don't think people will have done before, and I think you will have helped us along the way.
Oh, brilliant.
Absolutely.
I hope you've enjoyed appearing on the podcast.
Oh, it's been great fun.
You have been wonderful. Thank you so much. A reminder that Ruth Urquhart's details can be found in the show notes if you want to find her and find out more.
Absolutely. And all of the scripts, of course, they are also in the show notes.
Indeed. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks again to Ruth Urquhart. We'll be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest. This is where we do the name of the show all together, Ruth. Okay. When we'll be asking, how do you say that?
How do you say that?